All right, welcome to our final presentation for CIS 497. We're going to go through the process here of hacking into a WEP network. And once we're into the network, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to get into the router itself through the administration page and do a couple things in there, like creating a VPN into somebody's router. And we're also going to do some DNS spoofing once we're inside of the network. And what we've got here is just a basic system. This is going to be our victim, as it were. And we're just going to connect. This is his home network, and he has TP-Link 59DE. Now you notice this little X here. We're hacking into a WEP network, and WEP was broken years ago, so everybody knows it's no good. So Microsoft has that little X beside it. So I will type in the password because this is the home network and this is the victim. And Microsoft even tells you it's an older security standard. We recommend connecting to a different network. So, you know, Microsoft knows that this is no good of a network, and we'll show you why. So now we're connected, and just to make sure, we're just going to load up Google here, and we'll just type in something like AOL. And as you can see, loads up just good. We do have good internet access. So now what we're going to do is we're going to load up our Kali distribution, and we're going to run it on a separate dongle here. So we've got this guy here, just picked it up at Walmart. It has to be an external USB dongle for this to work. In order to hack a network, you can't usually use just the internal Wi-Fi card on your system because there has to be a custom driver that's been made for people to use for hacking. So there's a lot of cards out there. They're called alpha cards that are kind of meant for this. A lot of people have written the drivers for it, but I was lucky enough to find one at Walmart that they had written drivers for as well that could be used for hacking. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to load up Kali. So one of the things in order to make sure that this external dongle works properly in Kali is I've set up a setting in VirtualBox to make sure that it takes exclusive control so that Windows can't use this dongle. So the best way you can think about it is you've got Kali working off its own dongle here, and you've got the separate computer. So as much as they're on the same computer, they are working completely separately. We'll just log in here into our Kali computer. And once Kali's up and running, we'll be able to plug in the dongle. So we've got Kali up and running now. You'll see on the screen here we do have what it calls a wired connection. So that is just Kali using the wireless connection of the main computer itself, so the built-in wireless card. So we don't want to use that. So let's just turn that right off there. So you'll notice right off the start here, we are not connected to any networks whatsoever. And just to prove this here, we're just going to go load up browser and just go to Google, and we've got nothing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hack into a WEP network. So there's actually quite a few programs out there that are useful for this. You've got different apps you can actually just download on an Android phone, and it can go around as you're walking through the town, and it will tell you if there's a WEP network available. And you could pretty much immediately hack into it. You'll see how easy it is right here. So one of the things we just need to do is to find the name of the network that's being broadcasted. So we'll just go into our Wi-Fi here and just do select network, view the visible networks that come up. All right, and look at our list here. And the one we're trying to get into is the TP-Link 59DE. We'll just take note of that. So to hack into a WEP network, we'll open up our terminal here. And what we're going to do is just start off by going aramon ng, and we're going to go check kill. So it gets rid of the graphical network manager, which kind of gets in the way of us trying to do our hacking here. So it's killed a couple processes. So now what we're going to do is a next command for it, aramon ng start and wireless LAN 0. So, okay. Now it is giving me a warning here. It's just because the D-Link that I did manage to get from Walmart, the driver isn't super great with the hacking, but it works okay. So it tells you there's an error, but it'll work just fine. So now we're going to do the actual hacking into the WEP secured network. It's really quick and easy. I'll show you here. All you do is you type in the command BSSIDENG, capital R, and then the name of the network you're trying to get into, TP-link_59DE. Close that up, and then the interface to use, minus LAN 0, and sure enough, it'll hack into it pretty quick. So as you can see, within a few seconds, it already detected that it's a WEP network. So now it's doing a WEP flood, which is how it goes about doing it. And you'll see it's pretty friggin' quick here. I think last time I did it, it took about 13 seconds, and that was it before it was able to get the password for us. And there we go. That's it right there. So we can just stop it now, Control C, and here is our key. So a lot of WEP security uses phone numbers. It's basically 10 hexadecimal digits is the way that WEP security ran. So in this case here, it's 778-555-1234. And just to confirm if that works, we'll just go back into our Wi-Fi connection, select network. Yeah, there we go. TP-Link, and it's asking for the password, which we know now. 778-555-1234. Connect, and there you have it. Test out our connection, and we'll test that we have internet now. So we'll go to AOL.com. There you have it. Loads up perfectly, and we're in the network. Now, we've gained internet access. That's great. Now, what kind of things can you do once you're in somebody's network? Well, first of all, we should find the router's IP and see if we can get into it. So all you need to type is IP route, and default via 192.168.0.1, and let's just check it out, see what happens when we try to go to the default address. All right, well, looks like we've got a password protecting the router, but this is kind of an interesting thing. So it tells us it's a TP-Link Archer C7, and it just has a password, no username. So why don't we just try good old Google? So TP-Link Archer, and let's see, sure enough, username admin, password admin. Well, let's give it a try. Password admin. See what happens. We made it into the router. Well, now we've got full access to their network. Well, there's lots of things we can do, but one thing is if we go into the advanced settings, sometimes they've got things like, hey, a VPN server. And we can simply create a VPN server, which I actually already did earlier. But yeah, you just export the configuration file, and sure enough, you've got access into the network. We can actually test this out if we want to by the open DNS file that we created earlier. We've got the config file there for the Archer C7. Let's go into settings. And for now, let's forget this connection. We know the password now, so that's okay. So let's connect to a different network. Let's try, say, I'll actually go into my phone here, and I'm going to turn on my hotspot. So we know that we're connecting from a distant server in some far land if we go through the personal hotspot. There we go. Now that we're in there, we'll just go. So we know that we're not in the Archer network anymore, but we've created this ability to go in it through the VPN. So if we just go into our settings here and go into our network, so just really simply add a VPN, import from file. On our desktop here, we've got the final project, and there it is, the OpenVPN. And we'll open it up, add it in, turn it on, wait a couple seconds here, and sure enough, we should be in. There we go. We are now working through the VPN, so I'm connected through my phone, which goes into the cloud. We've got my actual router that gives me service to the internet through our ISP, and then connected to that is where I have the actual router that we're hacking into. So on the ISP's router, we've got basically just some port forwarding, so it's able to forward to the VPN, but it just showcases the fact that we can be anywhere in the world and still get into this guy's network because they didn't have good security on their router. So to test this out, once again, we can just go back into our terminal and we'll just do IP route. And we've got lots of different options here, but the one that we're interested in is 192.168, basically that network there is how we know we're in the VPN. Well, I guess ifconfig would also show a tunnel here. That's where we're at. And to showcase once again that we are in the right spot, let's go here and simply type in, once again, the router's IP address. And we should be right back where we started. There we go. Now if we go through here and view connected devices, kick off our old instance because we forgot to log out. If we go to wireless clients, it doesn't even show us in the network. Great, that's awesome. There's our victim there. So we've got access into the network, but we're not even a client on the network, so that's great. Totally invisible there, which is wonderful. So this, of course, is useful if we wanted to do anything such as browsing the dark web, doing illegal things on the internet, hacking into other things, setting up a botnet, all sorts of things you can do if you've got lots of VPNs into random people's routers. So that's a huge security threat right there. Don't ever have a default password on your router, which is good. A lot of ISPs now are putting the router's username and password pasted on stickers that are individual to each router. So that's a great way to do it. Now let's go into the next thing that we can do. So the next one is DNS spoofing. So if we go into EtherCap, that is the program that we're going to use for DNS spoofing. Sniffing and spoofing, EtherCap. This is a good one. So this provides the tools that we need, but we got to change a couple configuration files first. So the first one we need to change is the config file. So we'll go gedit/etc/ethercap/ all right. And the first ones we need to do is just change these values to 0 and scroll down and down and down. See Linux here, and this just lets us use an IP address for our spoof. So we'll save that there, takes it out of it. We also have to change another file, the DNS file. This file just helps us link two different DNS IP addresses for the names that we give, right? So facebook.com will provide it the IP address that we can spoof it with. So we'll do another one here. Oh, good, didn't find any viruses, that's good. Gedit again, and we'll go to /etc/ethercap/enter.dns. All right, and this one here, we actually already typed it in, but all it is basically facebook.com, and then this is a tab, not just a space. We've got tabs, and then the IP address that we're going to. So in this case here, what we did is we created our own web server that hosts the fake Facebook page, and that's the IP address to get to it. So David here will explain the process now of actually making that website.
I will be setting up a piercing website. We're going to use Facebook as an example. The whole process will be done on Kali Linux. So what we're going to need are two tools. We're going to need HTTrack and we're going to need Apatch too. So let's start off by installing HTTrack. We're going to also install the web version. As you can see, I already have it installed, but that is the command. So next, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to open up HTTrack. You can do the terminal or the GUI. We're going to be using the GUI because it's easier to follow. So once you have this open, you want to select the language, English, and then you want to create a new project. We're going to call this the Fake Facebook project. This is fine. So we want to click next. So now here is we want to add the URL. So we want to go to Facebook. facebook.com. We want to copy this URL into here. Now the reason we're using the full URL is because Facebook is an older site, so it will not recognize it otherwise. Next thing, we want to click set options. We want to go to limits, and we want to set max depth to 1 and maximum external depth. Facebook's a large site, so by setting this, we are then limiting how many links it will actually download. And of course, the external is the external links leading to other sites. We don't want any, so we just limit these two. Once we have that, we want to click OK. Then we can click Next. Okay, so then we want to just click Start. And it's going to, you'll get this screen and it's going to start downloading stuff. Well, I've already done this, so we're not going to do it. Once we have that done, we want to set up Apache 2 so that we can host this site. So what we want to do is we want to install Apache 2. As you can see, I already have this as well. So once you have Apache installed, we want to check the status of Apache. I have it running already, so the stops that you won't. So okay. So now the status would look like this when it's not running, but we want it running. So we're going to restart Apache. Make sure this is a sudo command. And then you should have, it should look like that, active running when Apache. Once that is finished, Apache's easily, then we want to copy the website. So the website would be stored in your username, as mine is Javatar. Websites. So you'll have websites like this. And this will be the website here. It'll download it. So we want to copy this. I've already copied it, so we want to copy this folder into Apache. So Apache system would be in external Apache. This is its configuration, but we want to install it. We want to install it somewhere else. This is where you can configure the ports, the configuration of Apache, etc., etc. So we want to, give me a sec, see if I can't get this. Okay, so it's under var www html. I have it all copied out here already. Once you have the Apache server and this copied over, you should be able to go to your browser. You should be able to type localhost. I'm hosting mine on port 8080. By default, it'll be port 80. And you should get a fake website like this. Now, it would be helpful if you had some PHP or coding experience. So what we want to do is we want to try to find what handles this login so that we can write the username and password that the users enter to a log file. Now we know this is on the default XMH index HTML page, so this is the default site. So that's probably a good place to start. And we also know that it needs an action like a post or get request in order to send that to the login server. So essentially, this index here is the HTTP track index and stuff, so it can redirect to the site. but you can see that we're on localhost http facebook.com. This is the folder, and this is the file. So we have a folder called www.facebook.com, so we want to go in here, and we now have the index here. So what we want to do is we want to open this in terminal as a super user. So on Kali there's mousepad, so we're going to use mousepad to edit this file. That's odd. There you go. Okay. That was weird. So now what we want to do is we want to search for action is equal to. And you should get something like royal login form, form ID equal login form. Now, under action, you'll have a long string here. You have a long string where post PHP is. We're going to be modifying that to post PHP. So as you can see right here now, we have a file called post PHP. We want to also open that in another mousepad. In my documentation, I have this code here. So what this will do is on the action when you submit your login request, it'll redirect you to the original Facebook. It'll then open a log.txt, which you can see right here. I'll explain how to set that up in a bit. So it opens this file, and then it loops through it loops over anything that has the method equal get, and then prints all the variables out. Now, give me a sec. Okay, so as you can see, this has a method.get. When you're looking at this, this will be method.post. It'll be method.post. We want to change it to method.get, and so that it will print the password as well to the file. So once that's done, you want to save these files. This one's already set up, so I don't need to save it. You want to save these files. Then what you want to do is you want to create an empty file, preferably as sudo. So you could do sudo touch log.txt, and this will just create the empty file. Now this is in sudo. So what you want to do here is you want to change the permissions to read and write, so that the Apache2 server has read and write access to that. Once that is finished, you should be practically set up. You would have to do some port forwarding. So to do the port forwarding portion, you just go to your router and port forward. This should be straightforward at this stage in the course. And that should be practically it. So now when you type a username and password, it'll redirect you back to the original Facebook site. And then what you can do to view this information, you can replace index.html log.txt, and then as you can see right here, we have the username and password that I typed in. And then stuff down here, here's the username and password I just typed in, etc., etc. And that's pretty much it. You have a piercing site that you can use.
All right, I just wanted to test really quick and show you that the website David created works just fine. So we're in our Windows system here, and we're just going to type in his address here. So 184.65.101.193 port 8080, and just load that up and takes you right to the Facebook site here. So Facebook index, and it's great. And we set in, we'll just do random password. Random. And there you go. All right, so we're not going to do the actual spoofing through the VPN. In order for spoofing to work, we have to be able to flood the network with enough traffic in order for it to deceive the target into thinking that we're the DNS server. And over a VPN it could work, but it's kind of tough, and I found it didn't work very well at all. So what we're going to do here is turn off the wired connection and go over to our Wi-Fi, and we're going to reconnect to that TP link directly. So we're just on a wireless connection using the password that we discovered. All right, so now we can get EtherCap working. So what we need to do first is just do sniff, unified sniffing, and we're going to select the wireless LAN that we are connected on. Hit OK there. So now we can just stop it right away. So it just kind of gets us into the settings here. And the first thing we need to do is go to hosts and scan for hosts. So we're going to scan the network for the host that we can attack and for the router itself. Now we go to host lists, and we can see the IP address of the router and the IP address of our victim that we are trying to spoof. So let's go and we'll select the default gateway or the router as target 2, and then we'll select our victim as target 1. Okay, so those are set now, so that's great. Now we'll go into MITM or man in the middle attacks, and we're going to start ARP poisoning. So what this does is this makes the victim think that we are the DNS server. So we're going to get that started there. And another thing that you need to do that I forgot about, as we go into plugins, manage the plugins, and DNS spoof, we have to double click on that guy there, and we'll go to start sniffing. Okay, now everything's in place that we can check and see if we're actually being spoofed. So we'll go back into the victim computer here, and we'll open up command prompt. And just for the sake of time, we're going to force a DNS reflush on the computer. Flush DNS. All right, so that's good. Now we're going to ping facebook.com. And let's see, so that IP address there, if we go back in here, hey, look, facebook.com spoofed to that address, so 184.65.101.193. We compare that to our ping. Look at that. So now we are logged as having that IP address associated with Facebook. Now, of course, this is theoretically all that needs to be done for spoofing. It worked technically. It spoofed the computer into thinking it's a different IP address. Now, a lot of web browsers, though, have added security. Of course, you've got certificates and all sorts of other things. So as much as the spoof worked for pinging, it's a little bit of a different story in a browser. So if we try and open up Chrome, though, and just go to Facebook, it just takes a long time to load, and it just tells you that the site cannot be reached. So it says the connection was reset. Same applies for other web browsers. The other thing too is because we're flooding the network with a ton of traffic, it doesn't work very well, and a lot of the connections just don't work anyways. So it's telling you that it can't connect securely to the page, so it knows something's wrong in that regard there. So, but it is spoofing it, as you can see here. It sent a lot of spoof data over to the computer. So we know that it's spoofing. We know that it is sending a different IP address, but the browsers themselves have some security built into it that helps to dissuade people from doing that. So that's it though. That is everything that we were able to do, but quite a bit of information, which is cool. Definitely never use WEP security on your wireless network. It's useless. Took about 13 seconds to crack that. After that, never have a default password on your router. Lots of scary things people can do if they're able to get into your router. And lastly, use a recent browser. They have lots of DNS spoofing tools built into them that try to help them from getting attacked like this, which is great, good to see. But yeah, keep everything up to date, keep everything secure, and take care.